Hi, I'm Josh Kirby, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. But first, Scorpion versus Ryu. They were so close. That episode was almost perfect, but then they screwed up with a dumb fan fiction ending. I'm, of course, referring to them saying that Scorpion can't be killed by physical force, which is entirely false, and they've completely thrown a fight because of it. Even if it were true, the Raging Demon isn't Ryu's only weapon of use against it. His Hadoken, which is a spiritual attack, destroys evil, as in specifically can destroy it. Terrible. Anyway, we also have another instance of a time where bullet dodging is completely ignored in the speed advantage. Despite prior episodes like Strider Hiryu versus Ryu Hayabusa giving the win to the fighter almost solely because of the speed advantage, and in that case it was only like a 1.4 or something times difference. In this case it would be much higher, like probably in the 10 times difference with a bullet dodging feat. It's definitely unfortunate that they had to fuck up what was otherwise a perfect episode with the outcome, which is unfortunately kind of the most important part. The fight was amazing. They did a great job with the even custom sprites when Ryu got dragged down to the netherworld, sorry. They also get extra points for using the song A Soul Can't Be Cut from the MGRR soundtrack, which is actually one of my favorites. As much as I want to like this episode, it unfortunately falls into the fanfiction bin next to Pikachu vs. Blanca and Zelda vs. Peach. Though this one might not be as bad as those ones. I have major issues with results like this because they make people who actually try to stay loyal to the research look bad. And before that runs on a bit too long, Kirby vs. Majin Buu. My happiness is quite high at seeing this fight. I've wanted this one for a while, and I was pleased to see it as the next one. The two ultimate pink blob fighters head to head. There's quite a few variables in mind for this fight, namely what version of Buu will be used, as well as Kirby's abilities in regards to what he gets access to. I'll delve into these a bit more when I get to them, so without further ado, I'll start with Majin Buu. For Buu, the big question is if he's using his various other forms. I believe the answer will be yes, so let's just assume he can go into any form that doesn't require a specific absorbing of someone, like Gohan, for example. We'll first look at strength. In this regard, we'll have to look at two aspects of Buu's strength, his physical strength and his ki strength. In the former, Buu doesn't really stand out much. He's strong enough to hit characters like Goku and such, but his power lies mostly in his ki attacks. In this state, he's a multi-planet buster unless the scene being used was for cinematic timing, which honestly wouldn't surprise me, and they have brought that up before in past death battles for Dragon Ball Z characters. But anyway, let's get to speed. Buu himself doesn't have many quantifiable speed feats, but assumedly he should be in the same ballpark as Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which is about 20%-ish the speed of light. So if they're not planning on using power scaling, Buu is actually pretty sorely lacking for speed feats himself. Lastly, durability is an interesting point for Majin Buu. His durability is about planet level, but he comes with a crazy regen that makes him absurdly hard to put down, requiring one to destroy every single atom of him to kill him. This regeneration does, however, go slower and slower as Buu gets exhausted. For abilities, we've got quite a lengthy list here, actually. He's got the planet-busting Death Ball, Kamehameha Wave, Kai Teleport, Vanishing Beam, Energy Mines, the Angry Explosion, a Wind Breath that can reach hurricane levels and destroy towns, his iconic Chocolate Beam that turns enemies into chocolate, Flight, Telekinesis, healing other beings, standard Ki Blasts, ripping off parts of his own body to attack with, the Vice Scream, which can let him escape from dimensions, and his Absorption, which traps enemies inside him to consume and gain their memories and abilities. Obviously this is pretty damn extensive and gives Buu quite a lot of ground to cover. He has a lot of experience being in existence since the start of Dragon Ball Z's universe, though his time in combat is actually pretty unclear, given that he spent quite a lot of time in stasis pods. Even still, he's taken out people like Dabura, the Kais, Majin Vegeta, and is capable of fighting Super Saiyan 3 Goku. As for Boo's weaknesses, it's extremely hard to find many between his high power and regeneration, but he's very childish in some forms, extremely animalistic in others, making him not much of a planner. In addition, he has had his candy beam used against him before, and it worked to full effect. So with that said, let's start with the underdog, so it were. Kirby has had many abilities that he's used over the course of being in about 31 games, and first question is what abilities he'll get. Will he be using his copy essences, his 5-slot stomach space? Well, maybe both. As we're trying to show both characters at their strongest, we're going to assume both. So then let's hop right in. Kirby's physical strength is much higher than one might think, able to completely destroy Popstar, crack the Earth in half, destroy Nova, a large star-sized enemy, and he's also punched Popstar in half as well. Most of his planet-cracking feats are actually done recreationally, as with the Megaton Punch, which is basically a competition, which shows his surprising power. In addition, Kirby has thrown enemies to the sun and back in mere seconds, which is actually throwing enemies at faster than light speeds. Anything just to crisp up enemies, you know, make them tastier. Speed-wise, Kirby is extraordinarily fast, calculations pushing him around the 6C range, or 6 times faster than light, while on the Warp Star. This grants him exceptional speed and reflexes and fine movement speed, even off the Warp Star. That said, when he doesn't have the vehicle, he can literally create at will with the Warp Star. Kirby's still capable of fighting characters like Meta Knight, who move at faster than light speeds anyway. With durability, Kirby is really unclear as fuck. He's survived planet-level explosions before, inconvenienced at worst, and been hit with soul-fuckery attacks, and he's shown amazing resistance to transmogrification attacks, enabling him to act even while in those states. He can resist reality warping effects, dark matter, dimension-destroying attacks. Even in the games, when Kirby loses all of his health, he's usually just shown as sleeping or crying, not being killed. Experience-wise, Kirby's taken on numerous extremely powerful enemies on various threat levels. Dark Nebula, King DDD, Zero, Zero-2, Meta Knight, Nightmare, Dark Matter, Sectorina, Drossia, Necrowdus, which is basically Kirby vs. Satan, Yin Yarn, Nova, Maglor, and Marks. Probably the last two are the most notable because they've got the best feats. He's also got quite a few more enemies, but those are the most outstanding ones. Needless to say, Kirby has quite a few wins under his belt. For abilities, we get into a big list. First are the copy essences, 19 copy abilities that Kirby more or less has access to whenever he wants. His various forms are Plasma Kirby, Sword Kirby, Yo-Yo Kirby, Ice Kirby, Bomb Kirby, Fire Kirby, Parasol Kirby, Wing Kirby, Cutter Kirby, Fighter Kirby, Wheel Kirby, Jet Kirby, Beam Kirby, Suplex Kirby, that one sounds fucking awesome. Stone Kirby, Ninja Kirby. Well, shouldn't he automatically win because he's got the ninja skills then? Automatically faster than everything. Hammer Kirby, Mirror Kirby, and Copy Kirby. For the most part, a lot of those won't really have much success getting by Boo's regen and durability. However, the most notable ones there are the last two. Mirror Kirby can create many Kirby clones, as well as allowing Kirby to reflect any projectiles. That'll be useful. Copy Kirby basically gives Kirby a scouter. I'm hoping there's going to be some sort of over 9,000 joke here, even if it's an old joke. I want to see that. And he gets the ability to copy the enemy without inhaling them. Which brings us to what ability Kirby would likely get from Majin Buu, and given it's his most iconic attack, I would assume that it would be the Candy Beam. Now Kirby also gets 5 spaces from his copy palette, so likely he'd be bringing his 5 other strongest attacks. Probably Mike Kirby, Crash Kirby, both of those which are like screen clearers and destroy all sorts of stuff and make him explode and stuff. Cook Kirby, which he threw an enemy to the sun with, and he can also absorb enemies into a pot and turn them out as food. I'm not sure if that will be taken as actually like a transmogrification attack as well, like with the Candy Beam. He's got Ultra Sword Kirby, which has basically been used as a finisher for a couple final bosses of the games, and Hypernova Kirby. Cook Kirby, as I said before, has a lot of good strength feats and might be able to just straight up one-shot people. And Hypernova Kirby has a very strange debate going on with it. It's unknown whether it's treated exactly as the copy ability, where it sends the enemy to Kirby's stomach dimension, or if it outright atomizes the enemy. This is actually pretty major in the long run for who's going to win. Other than this, Kirby has his basic abilities like Healing, Flight, Minor Toon Force, and the Air Bullet, which can take down aircrafts, and his iconic Inhale ability, which sucks the opponent in and sends them to Kirby's stomach, which is a separate and endless dimension from which Kirby can copy abilities and even go into his own stomach. Kirby's weaknesses, though, are very similar to Boo's. He's naive and playful, not exactly a genius, but really those are his biggest issues. So in the end, who do I side with? Well, in a side-by-side comparison, Boo likely takes power by a bit only because of the key abilities. Durability seems to be about even, but with an edge for Boo because of his regeneration. And speed is a major advantage for Kirby, with him being at the very least 5 times as fast and up to potentially 30 times as fast. This leads us to the situation where Kirby has difficulty putting Boo down, while Boo can't really hit Kirby. They also have several play-by-play counters for each other. If Kirby inhales Boo, he can escape from the dimension with the Vice Scream. If Boo tries to absorb Kirby, he can simply suck his way out with basic Inhale, Crash Kirby, or Hypernova, should they be needed. The Candy Beam would likely be Boo's copied ability should Kirby scan him, and the Candy Beam in Kirby's hands becomes extremely dangerous. Not only has Boo shown that he can be defeated by it, but Kirby's speed advantage makes it much more likely for him to hit with it. Even Kirby's enemies have had similar scale to Boo, destroying many planets and being hard to kill. In addition, most of Boo's key abilities can be reversed by Mirror Kirby, with his physical attacks lacking the power to put Kirby down. Ultimately, this should be one hell of a fight, and I'm expecting great things from the animation, but I'm siding with Kirby. We can only hope that they don't have Boo win just to avoid another DBZ fan backlash. I wouldn't mind seeing Boo winning, but they would have to actually do a decent job justifying it. Anyway, I'm Joshua Kirby, and I will see you guys next time.